Hello hero, this is my 50th take. I'm Lucy London. I had a bit of time away for a family bereavement, so I'm sorry if you wanted to book with me during that time or you were looking for me on the channel. If you are a subscriber, hopefully you got the memo which was in the community tab. If you didn't, click the bell so that you can remain updated. But because I have been away, I'm going to come back with full force, which means that we're doing Uttober. So expect some kind of reading from me for every day throughout October. I'm going to do 31 readings, probably a lot more than 31 because some of them will be pick piles or colour readings and that kind of thing. Things to expect: we will do love transmissions like this one in multiples. We will do the normal lunar readings that we do on the channel starting with the new moon mid-month. We will also do the colour readings that we do, the A to Z lucky dips that we do, which are just kind of based on a random word, and anything that you guys comment that you really want a reading on, I will consider for picker piles either this month or next month. So do let me know if there's something specific you want to cover, but you can expect love, money, friendships, family stuff, drama, no drama, spirituality, Jedis, just the normal kind of stuff we do on the channel, to be quite honest. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to getting back in the game. Quick shift, didn't want to film the intro twice. Hey! This is the Maxfield Parish playing cards deck, and we will be doing a pile for singles and a pile for couples. As usual, if you are not quite single, not quite in a couple, just take the situationship thing and take both readings, or one from one pile, one from the other, from my love playlist, which you can find in the main part of the channel, along with playlists of absolutely everything. I think there's like 50 something readings now, including like tarot lucky dips, all kinds of lovely stuff. I may have said that in the intro. I really can't remember, guys, I'm so sorry. Right, singles. Oddly, like the last love transmission for singles, which I've just filmed, it seemed to be very focused on the situationship. So if that was your immediate instinct, excuse me, then you might want to check that out as well. I don't know. Maybe you'll get a singles reading, and then that will be also like a situationship reading. Why am I... Pygmalion is relevant for some of you, or some sort of process of self-rejuvenation, self-regeneration, minding your P's and Q's, glowing up, leveling up is what I'm hearing. You've been paying extra attention to your speech, how you present yourself. You may even have started to incorporate firmer standards and more high-value behaviour in order to attract the kind of person... in order to attract the kind of person who's not going to fuck you around, is what I'm hearing. But in order to attract somebody who's not going to play games, who's not going to mess you around. I really dislike this like image of people leveling up so that they can find a rich person. Like, I don't think that that's why people do it. It's certainly not why I've altered my behaviours slightly over the years. I think it can just as easily be because certain types of people go for certain kinds of other people and don't have the best intentions. And if you, as you know, if you tailor yourself accordingly, sometimes you can avoid the kinds of people who are in it for one thing, or who will be disingenuous, or who will breadcrumb and ghost and things like that. Although ghosting's more popular now, sadly. Yeah, what I'm trying to say is, A, that's your confirmation that this is you, and B, more power to you, because I think it's really... As long as you're not self-editing out of a recognisable self, and as long as you're not making changes which are for other people rather than for you, I think it's a really positive thing to be doing. I think shifting the sorts of people you attract is always an interesting exercise in terms of the people that are already around you and how they respond as well. So that might be relevant. Eh? Okay, we have a 4 of Earth, 4 of Pentacles. Interesting. 5 of Clubs, 5 of Wands, and King of Swords. Let me just take a minute because the imagery on this is very articulate by itself. you're looking, right? I don't feel this is like I have a crush in mind kind of a reading. Maybe if it is, like that's why I mentioned the situationship reading last time before, because you might want to kind of look at both. But I suspect that if you have somebody you've been like on and off with or that you have in mind, it's not just them that you're thinking about. You've maybe got your toe in the waters of one person, but you're also just dating more widely, which again, more power to you. Good to keep your options open because you never know. I think this is quite like inactive though. And what I mean by that is you're not being proactive in the sense that you're going out there and you're doing speed dating and you're doing like, I don't even really know what people do. Excuse me, my chair is farting, not me. You're kind of doing like stuff with your friends in a more chilled out way, because these two women are chilling on a rock out in the countryside. That might be a thing. You might be like climbing, bouldering, cycling, hiking, that kind of stuff with a friend, with a view to maybe meeting someone in that sort of thing, rather than like joining an app or going to a club or going to a bar or whatever it is people do that when they're seeking someone other than their twin. I wouldn't know. I've been in a very long cycle. But yeah, it's very laid back. It's quite a feminine mode, even if you don't identify as feminine. And what I mean by that is not just like, floaty, lovely, and indeed femininity, which is often linked to leveling up, but it's also like a mode within which you are attracting by the acknowledgement that you deserve to be chased. And anybody can do that, you know, men, women, anything in between. You can get into the energy of, I don't chase, I attract. And now I'm hearing the Chris and T song that says exactly that. So I'll link it down below because that might be useful for you. It's not really my genre wheelhouse, but it's an interesting album for bringing stuff in that you didn't expect, right? Manifestation music in general is quite cool. Not sponsored, I just like that there are people out there doing that kind of thing. Again, with the Five of Clubs imagery, it's someone very sort of chilled, natural, languid, kind of waiting. Yeah, waiting is the way that I would describe it. Now, whether that's because you feel that you can't be emotionally giving yet because of the sorts of cards that it is, I don't know. And with the Five of Wands, it's almost like, give me a sec to put this right, okay? Because I don't want to annoy anybody, but I also don't want to not communicate what's being said to me. Why do I get the feeling that you're anticipating a conflict, or that like relationships are a conflict? That won't be for everyone. What Spirit is saying to me, knowing that they speak my language, as a mini Moshe in the late 90s, early 2000s, is people equals shit, as in the Slipknot thing. I don't believe that. I don't believe that you believe that. But what it's immediately got across to me in a very concise way, thank you, Spirit, is that your expectation in the dating field is not amazing, right? You might have been mistreated. That's why you're doing all this work on yourself. I think that part of you leaning back a bit is, yes, come hither, I deserve to be chased. Also, a good portion of it is, come at me, bro, or I'm expecting you to go off, so I'm just going to appear more relaxed than perhaps I feel. I think it might be like a social coping mechanism for you to not be the one to make the first move. And I don't mean historically, I mean at the moment, right? This may not be your usual mode. You may have been quite outgoing and then face the consequences of chasing after somebody who was not giving very kind things back. And so now it's like you've decided, no, I'm going to be a little classier and I'm going to wait for things to come to me and prove their worth. Which is, as I said in the beginning, it's all very good, but there's an underlying vibe in it of, I think you're going to cause drama for me, so I'm going to seem a little cool for you, or I'm going to seem icy at first until I know you're not a fuck boy, a fuck girl, or you're not going to offend me, or you're not going to fight with me. Fight is like a thing. And I don't mean fist fight, but I mean like argue with you. It's almost like your expectation in meeting somebody new is that it will go very well for a time, and then you'll hit an issue where you don't agree, and suddenly you'll be shouting at each other in a restaurant. Which is, it's not the best worldview, my love. It's not unfounded in your case, based on your experiences and based on how I feel in my stomach right now. But is that the best way to go in when you're trying to attract something that you really, really want? And now I'm hearing Spice Girls, because it's like, tell me what you want, what you really, really want, which is like, again, my communications are kind of silly. But the point is like, you're focusing on what you want to avoid, and therefore you're being quite passive in your approach and saying, I'll draw in the right thing to me, but also I'll keep a distance. When actually the right course of action at the moment might be to get more specific about what it is that you desire, so that you feel more of a motivational energy in actively pursuing it out in the world in a different way. Partly because it's not going to come to you if your expectation of it is that it's going to be kind of shit. Sorry. And it pains me to say it because I've been in your shoes, and I've been in the point of being like, you know what? I'm so sick of all of your stuff, all of you, that I'm however many grand down and exhausted and completely physically different. And what I want to do right now is just lay down and wait for you to come to me. Whether that be in a more social way or not, that's the vibe I'm getting. And I've been there. But honestly, my sweet, sweet viewer, I didn't really meet anybody that way, or at least nobody new, nobody that wasn't bringing the same patterns in, crucially, right? I had people approach me, but in the same energy that I was expecting. Excuse me, I've got hair clearly attached to my lippy. Sorry, I shouldn't be using you as a mirror, should I? Anyway, it's very irritating. That's why it's an irritant. The whole thing of relationships is an irritant for you, but yet you want one. Or you're interested in what love is coming in. It's like you're simultaneously asking me to wow you with stories of, you know, tall, dark and handsome, or whatever it is you're into. But at the same time, you're like, but don't tell me, then they're going to cheat. Or don't tell me, then they're going to argue with me. Or don't tell me, it turns out, plot twist, they're an asshole in some way. Don't come to me with this. You come correct, all right? If you want other people to come correct, you come to this channel and you're like, nah, I want a love reading because I want love. It feels like you almost don't, bro. And I say it with love, right? Yeah, because anybody approaching you is going to get this push-pull. And they could be the most perfect person for you. They could have the best intentions in the world, and yet the sense that I'm getting is they would feel a vibe right now. Because it's not even because you're not healed. That's not it. You are healed. But you don't want to... You don't want to let love in. So you're framing that as, you know what, I don't want to pursue people in the way I used to because that didn't get me in a good position. So let's do this thing where we hang out as friends in a very laid back way. Or let's do this thing where we're out in nature and maybe that'll attract a different kind of person. Or just like, let's lean back from this in a different fashion to how I did. And you act like that's because you want to operate in a different style, but actually I think also Like, do you want anybody to take the bait? And I'm not coming for you. I'm not trying to attack you. But there's a sense that they will feel, excuse me, hiccups confirmation, that your expectation of them is terrible before they start. And that's not fair on your person, whoever they are, or your people, whoever they are. What we got? Yeah, this King of Swords, right? This is, again, oh, okay. In light of what I just said, take a look at this, right? I don't know whether you can see it properly. This central figure, I think, is your person, any gender, right? We're not reading for gender on here. And you'll notice that they're in a cloud of smoke. And they're by what looks to me like it could be Aladdin's cave or something similar, because this is a deck from like a series of stories which include stories like that, right? There are a few Aladdin cards. So we're in the realm of wishes. We're in a place where you can shelter and think about what it is that you want, or what the treasures are that you seek, which also links back to a Four of Pentacles, which usually is about the pirate and or about treasure, right? It's about stashing, burying. I need to keep this secret, keep it safe. In that realm, there is a King of Swords, so somebody with a very adult, controlled, articulate, leadership, highly intellectual, very witty, softly funny kind of an energy, who is obscured by all the smoke that you're blowing up this process of, I'm going to do things this way, and this way. I think that this person is in your periphery, if not directly in your life. I'm not sure that you can see them right now because of the way that you've been feeling about taking these next steps. And again, not demonizing you or saying you're doing the wrong thing, because a lot of the time this stuff comes from trauma, and heck knows I have my own, traumas, attachment issues, you name it. And based on personal experiences, I too am wary. But this wariness is like blocking the way for you to see your person. Ace of Swords in reverse. I don't know if any of you saw my extremely long channeled reading that I did called something like Innocence a bit back, where I thought I was reading for myself and it turned out I was reading for you guys, so I ended up making it a video. But that card, specifically in this deck, I quite often associate with like a stern parental figure, or somebody who is commanding us out of our wishes and dreams in a way that makes us feel like we can never quite regain our autonomy again. It's giving Mother Gothel of any gender, and specifically in a relationship context. In the sense that, like, again, don't want to assume that everyone's seen Tangled, but it's a story about gaslighting. It's a Disney story, but it's about covert narcissism and gaslighting, hence its appeal. And it's sort of someone convincing a really wonderful person that they don't have the wherewithal to be out in the real world and to fall in love and to take risks and to do fun things, because they either haven't learnt the skills from being in an environment of a certain kind, or they just don't have it in them, right? And there's all sorts of nasty things that go along with that, like being called, well, there's really personal things that she says. So, like, she calls her chubby at one point, and Rapunzel is anything but chubby, and things like that. I don't know. So it's like maybe a prior relationship, or maybe just like an ambient dynamic where you've been told that you're not capable of, what I'm hearing is, meeting people in proper circles. That might be the Pygmalion thing. And also you've had the same source of that conditioning call you things that were awful. Might be fat shaming for some of you, it might be other stuff, I don't know. But it's like, you will know who provided that influence by how cruel they were in small ways elsewhere in that relationship. Again, could be a parent, could be an ex-partner. An Ace of Swords, you took that as truth. And it's not. And when I say that your approach to this is a little two-way in its vibe, I don't think that's because you can't love. Nor do I think you're cold, or even that you've gone from one extreme to the other in any way. I think it's that you're still hearing all of that conditioning. My self-concept reading might be of use. There's a try before you buy free version here in the playlists, and then there's also, you can book with me to get it, but it might be a thing, I don't know. Not promoting if you can't afford it, just use this, that's fine. I put up free resources for a reason. Eight of Swords. You need to take a holiday from whatever these influences are. And in that holiday, you need to actually assume the position of somebody who is taken care of, rather than somebody who is seeking somebody to take care of them. I don't mean that in a crappy Cinderella complex way. I mean, if you're looking for somebody to treat you how you deserve to be treated, I think what you need is a short break away somewhere, even if it's down the road with a friend, where you can play the part, imagination-wise, of already having that, and indulge yourself as that person would indulge you. And I think that will help you to get back into this vibe. And it will also help you to explore, kind of in a safe environment, this Ace of Swords person, whoever they were from the past, and figure out how they relate to how you're presenting now, and indeed to the pressure that you feel to present in a certain way when you're looking for a certain thing. Because often that's great, and it does give you social mobility to tweak aspects of yourself that you're not so fond of. But then also, when we're getting more into like shadow stuff here, that mode of being can be quite ableist, it can be quite classist, it can rely on very old structures of old money in a shitty kind of way. It can be very colonialist in that sense. And I'm not putting all of that on you. I'm asking you to critique the advice you've been getting in terms of going the other way and in terms of leveling up, and say, which of this is true to the person that I am after all is said and done, and after I feel safe. This reading is very Saturnian to me. It's about restriction and putting rules on yourself in order to get somebody coming in who is great for you, and who is, you know, even the King of Swords, it's like a good Saturnian energy. That does exist. You've been misinformed if you believe that Saturn is a bad thing. But also it's like the other side of that is looking at where our sense of obligation comes from, and looking at how that might also be a restriction to experiencing wonderful things. King of Hearts. King of Cups. Ace of Cups. Two of Cups. Boom! Alright, so this is just a very clear nod that, like, if you're willing to sort of take this time to pretend that it's already a thing, to get into acting as if a little bit, and also to critique the very good advice that you've been receiving in perhaps an environment where you don't have to act like that, or you don't have to be that way, and you can just slump about a bit. I think the balance of those two things, the dreaming on the one side and the refining on the other, is going to lead you to a very positive thing. A King of Cups is somebody who's very emotionally centered, has a good level of self-control. It can quite often indicate somebody who's in a position of power or in a managerial kind of a way, but is also very in touch with their emotions, very giving, very nurturing. It's a lovely balance to that King of Swords we got earlier, because they're both leadership energies, but one is flirty Gemini, intellectually wonderful energy, and the other is very sweet and romantic, and the combo is making me think of Westley or the Dread Pirate Roberts in The Princess Bride, if any of you are familiar. It's very quick and very sort of spicy conversation, but at the same time it's deeply heartfelt and loving and generous and gestural as well, which may be what you're craving. Again, that could be any gender, that could be any package. It doesn't need to be somebody who is a leader. It doesn't need to be somebody who is a man. Take it as you see fit. I'm reading for a very large group of people right now. Two of Cups shows there'll be a strong friendship there as well. There may also be a thing about cooking together just because of the imagery in the card. And then with the Ace of Cups, this is like big, big love. And I'm noticing as well that in the Ace of Cups imagery, there is a person on a throne and a person who is coming to them in thigh-high boots, right? It's Puss in Boots, incidentally. So maybe a cat involved in this, or you may have a cat who's interfering right now. Hello, cat. Let me know about your pets down below. I'd love that. But yeah, it's like not shaming thigh-high boots because I wear them all the time. I love thigh-high boots. But thigh-high boots are associated with a certain kind of presentation, which itself is associated with drawing in a certain kind of individual. No? This is why I have thigh-high boots. Although I learned that they're actually a good thing for my shape in the end. But yeah, so there's that end of things, and I'm sure you'll know what I mean, if you are on a level up journey, right? Because that's seen as slightly more tacky maybe, or slightly it's girlfriend energy rather than wife energy, if you're in that sort of scope. And then the person on the throne is like a person of established power, security, leadership, confident chasing rather than being chased. But it's also like again with the class difference stuff, and I really want you to examine that, because not all of the messaging we're getting in these like leveling up and femininity circles is good. But there's this difference of like, it makes me think of like Pretty Woman and the sort of established Richard Gere character, and then the Julia Roberts character who, again, Pygmalion, feels within the context of the film that she needs a bit of tweaking, and then they fall in love. And it's like two worlds are coming together. That's not to say that you're the thigh-high boots person in this, nor is it to say that the thigh-high boots person needs work. I think that's very judgmental energy to be in. But it's to say that if you felt like you needed to present in a certain way to attract a certain kind of person, the reading is telling you that's not the case. Because your person is for you. They're going to like you anyway. I like you. I like your energy. I like the fact that I can be very upfront with you and talk about some really contentious things within this reading, because I know you can take it, because I know you're quite strong, self-reflective, and can be fun, right? Because of the references that I'm getting. So I think that this person will also see a lot of qualities in you that are really attractive, universally. And I am bi, so I fancy you a bit as well. But it's, yeah. Sorry, that was highly inappropriate. Again, inappropriate, right? Maybe I needed to say that because it's about what's appropriate and what isn't and stuff. But I don't think that this person will see you as inappropriate, even if you come from a different world to what they do. And I think if you're in this singles reading, you are looking for somebody who is from a different world. And that's why you've been doing this work. It's not because you're a classist. It's not because you're a racist. It's not because you believe necessarily in traditional and restrictive notions of femininity. It's because you know that you're going to need to operate with somebody who isn't like you but fits you exactly. And I think that's going to happen for you. But I think before it can, you need to spend some time just dreaming about what you want and making lists of the positive aspects of what you're expecting, as well as just the negative stuff. And you need to take some time away from this kind of new and luxurious mask you've been wearing to really analyse which bits of it could be the real you in 5-10 years, and which are emulating something which in the end you don't want to be. Ten of Pentacles to finish. There could not be a greater promise of financial security, being an established entity, earning the respect that you deserve, and indeed forming some kind of a legacy with a counterpart. But you'll notice that the figure in here is a feminine one, and because we've been talking about notions of femininity, that means that even if you're a dude watching this, or dude identified, that is a signifier for you within the reading. So what I'm getting is that no matter how long this person takes to come in, I feel it might be quite fast actually, the promise is that you will feel as established as the thing you're looking for, as funny, as kind, as attractive as the thing you're looking for before too long. And that's kind of the real battle of it, right? It's not about becoming something to pull somebody in, because that almost in law of attraction terms implies that you need subterfuge to trick somebody into liking you, right? And that's bullshit, because we know that the person who's for you will like you. It's more like saying, I am sufficient unto myself, and the more I sit in that energy and the more I just enjoy it, the more inevitable it becomes that somebody falls at my feet. Good for you. Let me know when it happens as well. Like, save this reading, come back to it. Let me know how you meet. It's going to be great. Right, couples. Couples reading. We have one leaper. We have bad singing. Three of Wands reversed. It would look like that if it was upright. Children might be significant to this partnership. If they're not, just let it fly. I'm reading for a lot of people. It's all good. Whoop. All right. Knight of Swords. Excuse me, that was my chair, not me. I'm going to demonstrate. No, that's... I'm trying to demonstrate that it was the chair. Ace of Wands reversed, which would look like that if it was upright. I don't know why, but this guy's giving me Hermes vibes. So tricksters and or Hermes might be a thing. Or you may be watching this when Mercury's doing something weird if you're not seeing it live. All right. Oh, it did it again. Did you hear that? You know that's not me now, right? What is that about? Everything's a message in these things. Come on, Spirit. Why is my chair squeaking? Something has happened within this connection that is being blamed on you, but it's not your fault. I dare say, he who smelt it dealt it. But it's like, yeah, it's like a squeaky chair or a whoopee cushion on the chair or something. It's like you've been put in a position where something embarrassing has happened, but it wasn't actually down to you, yet you bore the brunt of the shame of it. That's quite a serious issue for a little chair fart, but that's what's coming through. So, if that is you, what do we want to say about it? Let's split. Eight of Pentacles reversed. And a Nine of Swords. We'll get to the other stuff. Well, the Nine of Swords is echoing the shame thing, because look at this guy, all right? And Nine of Swords in general is about losing sleep over something or feeling embarrassed. Nine of Swords in this context makes me think of like when you wake up, I'm going to sound so Woody Allen, when you wake up in the middle of the night and you remember something that you said to someone when you were 13 that you can't take back and you're like, oh, cringe. But you're now 36. Which, by the way, happens to be more than it should. But it's that feeling of like, this wasn't really my fault, nor could I have known or done better. However, when I have a bad dream and wake up in the middle of the night, this is the thing I think about. Eight of Pentacles reversed. I want to say this is a workplace thing and you can't leave it behind or you can't unpack it properly. I think it'll link into the rest of the stuff. So let's go for the rest of the stuff because that's kind of... Yeah, maybe you'd embarrassed yourself in the workplace in some way. Well, I don't want to say embarrassed yourself because it wasn't you. Maybe you were embarrassed in a workplace setting and through no fault of your own. And then you brought that energy home with you and your partner or partners continued the embarrassment. Does that make sense? And it's making you sad and ashamed. Which I want to say, don't be, because it wasn't you anyway. Let's get to the rest of it. Excuse me. Hiccups confirmation. Yikes. Okay, so I want to say there was a plan. Maybe a holiday, maybe some kind of new venture together as a couple. Or a cure, but I'm going to say couple just because it's easier, so bend as you see fit. Some of you are very flexible and it might have been a yoga thing. But there was some kind of long-term plan here that something environmental got in the way. For many of you, that's a child, your child. For others of you, something in your immediate environment kind of put this on pause for a second. And it was the worst time that it could have done that. The vibe I'm feeling is maybe like a couple who've gone through some stuff recently, you know, not necessarily like falling out or anything, but just you've both had a time, you know, and you wanted to go on holiday, vacation, or you wanted to take some time to get more in touch with each other. It could even be like a date night, and then something's happened around you that's gone blam. No, not right now. Now with the Knight of Swords, I almost get the sense that a communication was rushed as a result of this. So it's like, date night is cancelled. I'm going to take the next 10 minutes that I have before this stuff descends to just tell you everything I would have told you on date night in a really concise way. But of course, with such concise communication, sometimes we miscommunicate or we get a bit ahead of ourselves or we expect somebody to take in all the facets of a thing when they're still processing part one. And I know I'm guilty of that in my readings, and I know I ramble on some places and I contract in others. I blame Photomechus, but it's a thing, I know. But I feel like almost a micro version of that has happened within your partnership. And then the Ace of Wands is that one of you tried to solve this by just being like, you know what, let's fuck. It's fine. Whether that was at that time where you had a brief moment together, or whether it was much later and you went into like a sexual mode, or you at least went into like hot and heavy physical affection if it wasn't full sex. There's certainly there's one person expressing very fast, not necessarily covering all the points, but doing so in an emphatic way. And there's the other person sort of deer in the headlights, like, all right. And then there's either like they jump on each other and they fuck on the floor, or there's like a pause where other stuff infiltrates and the interruption happens. And, you know, whatever was the high responsibility that prevented this thing kind of steps in. And then later, there's a like really hot and heavy affection to be like, it doesn't matter. I dare say that one of your like love languages or communication style things might be that one of you is very verbose, and the other one, rather than needing words of affirmation, needs physical touch. So there was like a moment where one of you wanted to talk and the other one was like, great, that whole 10 minutes we talked. Now let's get to it. And it's not the answer, my dudes. Neither of those approaches quite covered the extent of what you needed to cover. And that's the case even if this was like a date that was meant to reinvigorate a relationship and that's all that you needed to happen. I get the feeling that even then, the person who would have done a lot of the talking possibly feels that they weren't heard fully. And the person who did the instigation of the other things, which do take two, possibly didn't feel that that was like as long a time as they would like, literally in some cases, or, you know, this sort of, it wasn't like, maybe they expected that after that experience, things would click into a slightly different sexual mode, and they just didn't. Because again, one of you wants this kind of communication, the other of you wants this kind. You both love each other, but, you know, it... So let's get some more cards. It's very sweet and very funny. This almost feels like the setup for like a... You know that couple in a romantic comedy who are like, they're not the main couple that haven't got together and are all, you know, playing fuckwits. They're the couple in the background who are like the best friend of one of them. And they're actually adorable and they should be the main characters. It's giving me that kind of energy of like, no, I would rather be you, even though you guys have got problems. It's almost like there's a guarantee at the end of it. You are fine. It's fine. Okay. Knight of Wands. Again, with the clothes being half on, half off, there's a sense of a potentially rushed interaction. I dare say, with the background, it may have been in a place that was that risked somebody else walking in, or that was outside, or anything like that. Do be careful with things like that from a legal perspective, but also I will say, you do you. Lovely. Two Wands. There's some kind of indecision here. The more, what do I want to say? I don't want to call it feminine because that's so bloody heteronormative, but the more, I want to say the recipient of the info, because I feel like the talking person is already very proactive in the relationship, and they kind of try and do, maybe they wouldn't be the feminine in, you know, those sort of het circles, because they do the emotional labour for the partnership, right, which is a traditionally female role. Or sorry, they wouldn't be seen as a masculine is what I'm trying to say. Anyway. But whoever is the person who just kind of went, oh, we don't have the opportunity to be together on a long-term thing, so I'm just going to say it, blah, 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 is not this person. I think this is the person listening to that, because it's a very receptive pose. And with the swing, it's like, we can go backwards, we can listen, we can lean in, and we can say, let's be affectionate now, we can go backwards. Again, swings may be involved. I'm loving this scope of activity in the sort of more onesie sense. But with it being a 2, there was definitely a moment where this person didn't know what to do. And I think taking it to a physically affectionate and or saucy place may have been like, let's just do this. It's kind of a, I don't know how to respond, but my dick does, or my pussy does, or whatever, you know. It's, and again, that's adorable. It's not necessarily what you want, but it's very sweet. The intentions behind it are very good. I also want to say with this Hermes reference, there's an element of this person, I want to say them instead of you, but it, you know, change it as you see fit as to the talker versus the fucker. But the fucker, sorry, it's almost like they thought they were tricking you into a hasty or an early reconciliation of some stuff, or an early understanding of stuff that needs more time, or just an early agreement on a thing, or an early quick fix. Early is coming through a lot, so that might speak to the nature of the interaction. But it's like they thought that that was a neat trick on their part to be like, oh, we're okay now, right? And as well you know, that's not always the way that relationships work. So if that person was you, if the instigating physical person was you, I think like it was a good thing to do. I think that the relationship needed a bit of that in that moment because things were very tense. But I also think your problems are not solved by that, bro. Like, it needs more. There needs to be another conversation or something. And then again, speaking to this trickish energy with Hermes, we've got a masculine joker, right? There are 2 jokers in the deck, and I choose this one for air and fire, as you may note by the symbols. Dragon is interesting, isn't it? It's 2 people breathing fire. One is spewing out information at a hot rate, like hot breath, like blah, 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 blah. And the other one is breathing fire in terms of like exchanging that passion at the other person rather than with the other person. It's like a passion, it's not without intimacy, but it's like where the level of intimacy has to be made smaller because the time is cut short. It's very interesting that we're honing in on an interaction which may have only been a few moments, yet it seems very crucial. Show me the broader scope, Spirit, because I want to know, like, why this is significant in a bigger way. 2 of Swords. What's that smoke about? Queen of Cups. Somebody's hiding how they actually feel about something. That's like a really simplistic interpretation. I will go bigger. But 2 of Swords is an indecision. It's got smoke on the cards, so we know that something is being veiled. And again, in a tricky way. Think of the magician throwing the smoke bomb, right? And then disappearing. And that is in response to a Queen of Cups figure. So somebody who's should be very in touch with their emotions. Also, Queen of Cups often speaks to alchemy, transformation, transubstantiation, the changing of one sort of substance or dynamic to another. And what my feeling on that is that maybe you are both blowing smoke at each other because both of you have a resistance to change in whatever this was. Again, it doesn't have to have been an argument, but if you wanted to reinvigorate something, it's like there's a push-pull with that, which is interesting because the singles pile was about a push-pull thing. And if you wanted to just revive a relationship and make it spicy, and you maybe booked a holiday and then you couldn't go because of kids or something, it's like both of you have reservations about that process that need to be looked at before it can be a truly happy one. 7 of Swords in reverse. There's no duplicity here. Nobody's hiding. I'm hearing hiding light under a bushel because of the imagery. But there's no kind of... Some of you, this is about like a church thing. Or a community because of this group. And you have different opinions on it. And you sort of maybe prior to this interaction, you had a spat about it. Mutual friends or some kind of opinion about somebody else, or the reflections of somebody else's opinions on your dynamic. And it's like you had a conflict, it wasn't resolved. So then you planned in a very organised way to resolve it. And then in that meeting, one of you went verbal, the other one went passionate, and neither of you really got anything done. Now, is that way or that way? I can't remember. Okay. 5 of Cups. There is a sense that something's been lost between you. And I don't mean to be over dramatic with that because your relationship could be entirely functional and that still be true. And you'll notice that both of these people are like mirroring each other. Again, you may have very different communication styles, but you're looking each other in the eye and you're mimicking each other just in your own accent. The colours on the sleeves are different, right? But the pose is the same. Almost the person is the same. And you see this wheel in the middle, it looks to me like a wheel of fate or a wheel of fortune. So although we're not reading majors because it's a playing card deck, I would also call this a wheel of fortune card, which means that things are turning, things are shifting between you. I think you need to realise that you have more in common than you have different. But you also need to acknowledge that this whole thing came because you feel very differently about something. Really, this entire reading is screaming, there needs to be more communication. And I'm almost pulled to say, if one of you is very verbose and the other one is very passionate, look to the other love languages for a way that neither of you are comfortable expressing yourselves as a kind of a neutral ground. So time together is a love language, right? If you could somehow rebook this, redo the night, go to the place that you planned to go to before life stuff intervened, then do that. What are the other ones? There's gifts, and then there's acts of service as well. So there's something about spending time together, each giving each other a present, which might be a thing, or each providing something useful for the other's life, consciously, as a pair, which is going to help you guys get this across better than either of you talking and either of you acting on your passions. Because I think if you use those two love languages in this scenario, either one of you is going to be like, well, I'm in my comfort zone, but you're clearly out of yours, and vice versa, you know. Like, yeah, it's going to be this like, this kind of butthurt feeling of like, well, you're in your advantage here. You're the hypersexual one, so of course we're talking in sex. Or you're the one who's really good with words, so of course we're talking it out when I want to show you how much I care. And it's like, it's unfair to both of you. So I think like, maybe have a talk about the love languages with your person and ask them what the one they're least comfortable with is, and like set it as like a fun couples challenge. That sounds really naff, but hey ho. To like explore the one that neither of you are good at. And I think that in doing that, naturally, whatever needs to come through for both of you will come through. There are cards on the floor that I'm not going to pick up because I was going to finish with one. But it's interesting that they fell because there's something that's going to be like let go of in this conversation. There's a responsibility that both of you need to agree to drop. And it's probably not what you're thinking. Because if you've got something in your mind already, then that suits your goals, right? But I want you to think in terms of what suits the partnership. I want you to think of your relationship as a third entity that you're nurturing and caring for as if it was a baby. I know that's gross for some of you, but, you know, or a small animal, whatever. And kind of give to that instead of giving to each other in a way that meets your needs directly, right? And in order to give to that, you work in its love language, which is neither of yours. I hope that makes any kind of sense. Seven of Pentacles in reverse, which in the upright would look like this. Again, we've got like pastoral scenes and we've got two people kind of leaning back in surprise at each other, right? Perspectives are being shared in this new way of approaching the issue, which surprised both of you equally in a nice way, in a good way. And it's not as rushed, it's not as hasty. Sometimes Spirit gives me messages and I'm like, really, bro? There's I'm just going to say it. This kid over here, to me, looks like Anakin Skywalker. I'm not saying either of you is going to be a Darth. What I am saying is, if you were planning a trip, one of you doesn't like sand, don't go to the beach, bro. If you're going to go somewhere beautiful and natural, a beach may become problematic in some way for both of you, because Anakin is there. And it reminds me of his scene with Padme where he's like, it's coarse and irritating and gets everywhere, or whatever he says. It's just his Mardy emo speech about sand, which we all absolutely love as fans. But yeah, it's just an indication of like, if you're thinking of an idea of where to go, and indeed if you're thinking of going on a trip together, I think that's a rad idea. In fact, I had a dream about doing that with my twin the other night, where I was like, all of this would be made clearer if we took a few days in a cottage and switched our phones off and just talked it out. So that's confirmation that it is a good idea. But don't do that at a beach or somewhere sandy. I hope that's been of any use at all. If anything was really specific in confirmation or anything like that, I'd love to hear in the comments. It makes me feel better about what I do. And also, if you want to share the channel, like, subscribe, ding the dong, etc., that all helps me to get the numbers up, to get more visibility, to help more people like you. And if you didn't like it, thanks for staying this far. And I hope that you can find something else maybe on the channel that you do like, or that you find the reading that is for you today. But take care, and yeah, good luck on your trip. Work out of your comfort zone, and this relationship is fine anyway. You've got that established couple romantic comedy energy that I mentioned. You'll be okay, both of you.